What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan back with another video. Today's video, I am going over the last minute. So all the injury news isn't here yet, but I'm going to go over some last minute cash plays for you guys on Fanduel. So these are people that you're going to want to play in your multiplayer and head-to-head matchups. And we'll just get into them position by position. And I'll mention a couple of GPP plays. It just always happens. So, in all honesty, the most expensive quarterbacks on FanDuel are the guys for cash. Usually you'll find some other people down here. For instance, like a Tua, even though Tua is not a play. But price-wise, you find some of these guys, like a Baker Mayfield, Ben Roethlisberger. These guys aren't cash plays, but you normally find some value there. On FanDuel, none. Like, these top 6 guys are your 6 guys that are your cash plays. Joe Burrow, 11-point favorites against the Jets. Justin Herbert, 4.5-point favorites against New England. And they're home, which is promising. Matt Stafford, 16-point favorites on the road against Houston. Tom Brady, 4.5-point favorites against New Orleans. That's going to be a really good game today. Jalen Hurts is 3.5, I believe, is what the line is right now at Detroit. So that one is definitely interesting. And Josh Allen, 14-point favorites at home. Some very interesting plays. But in all honesty, those are your guys. If you want to go down to anybody, Jameis is at 74, more of a GPP, but definitely worth a look. We just haven't seen him have a amazing quarterback game. Ryan Tannehill going against one of the worst pass defenses in the league in the Colts. Sam Darnold is, it sucks to say, he is in play at 7,300 here against Atlanta. Other than that, you get Taylor Heineke at 7,000. And Von Miller's out. That's interest. Geno Smith against the Jaguars, but still not someone that I like. You go down, Trevor Lawrence against Seattle? No. Ben Roethlisberger, Baker Mayfield? Those are no's. Justin Fields against San Francisco? No. Like, there's not a lot of value there at quarterback. Other positions, a lot of value, a lot of fun plays. So, obviously, Derrick Henry, great play. I don't love him as much in more GPPs. I'd find other players that you can kind of compensate for that 10-5 price. We go down, Jonathan Taylor at 8,500, I think is definitely worth a look. Not one of my more favorite plays, but he definitely is there. Alvin Kamara only for the receiving game, but I don't love him. And it goes down to DeAndre Swift against Philly. Him being 7,900 and being the number 2 running back in PPR is crazy. He should definitely be above 8,500. You're still getting him at a discount here at home. 7,900, only 3.5-point underdogs, which is crazy. So DeAndre Swift is one of the guys that I love today. And like these 3, honestly, Dorell Henderson against Houston, probably the best matchup that you're going to see today is Dorell Henderson against Houston. That's not meaning that Dorell Henderson is going to be the number 1 running back in fantasy points, but he has a very good matchup. His offensive line destroys Houston's defensive line. They're 16-point favorites in a very medium-sized total. So definitely one of my favorite plays. Joe Mixon against the Jets, 11-point favorites. I'm not totally sold on the Jets being terrible defensively, but offensively they're going to turn the ball over, which means if they're turning the ball over with Mike White, Joe Mixon was probably going to get some easy red zone carries with turnovers. So 7,600 Joe Mixon I like. We go down the list. 6,900 Damian Harris is probably another play that I love today. The Chargers are one of the worst teams against a rush. That's because they protect the pass a lot. We've seen it. And Damian Harris is a workhorse. We go and look at his numbers. In his last 3 games. 14 carries is the least amount. He's got an 18 and 14. He's broken over 100 yards 3 times this season. And he's definitely worth a play here in a very close matchup against the Chargers. Chuba Hubbard is honestly a 50-50 for me. I don't know if I fully love him yet for cash, but he is a discount in price if you're trying to spend up at receiver. We continue to go down. Kenneth Gainwell at the start of the week was looking really good, but now with Jordan Howard apparently getting first team reps, that's definitely worrisome. Um, but at 5,900, it is a pay down. A GPP play I like today is Michael Carter at 5,700. And we go down, and you're not really finding anybody else. David Johnson at 5,100 is a GPP play. But other than that, that's probably as low as you're going to want to go this week. So, yeah, as far as cash, like you go, Chuba is probably the cheapest, but there are some GPP and lower end cash plays. Wide receiver is fun this week. Cooper Kupp, obviously, number one receiver. There's no one in Houston that's going to be able to cover him. 9,200, great play. Jamar Chase against the Jets, 8,200. I'm just not fully sold on the price and the points. Now, granted, he's doing something that no other rookie really ever has. Exceeded 100 yards in 3 of his games. He's got 6 receiving touchdowns this season. It's crazy. He's definitely not a bad play. He's put up, his floor is 10 points. Not a bad play at all. Great cash play. If you're not playing Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase is good to go. But I do like Deebo Samuel against the Bears. Just because of who Deebo Samuel is going to see. It's not going to be Jalen Johnson as much, which is good in my opinion. DJ Moore against Atlanta. I think DJ Moore is due for an amazing game if Sam Darnold can produce. Mike Williams and Mike Williams is more expensive than Keenan Allen by quite a bit. Mike Williams all the way at 7,600, Keenan Allen at 6,900. I think both those guys are in play, but they're not one of my more favorite plays. A.J. Brown at 7,600 as well. I do like a lot more than I do like Mike Williams. Deontay Johnson, I'm not sold on yet, but he's so dependent. He's a safer cash play, just not in love with him in the big divisional game on the road at that. Terry McLaurin against Denver, I think, is huge. 7,400, this guy gets targeted. We've seen his ceiling is ridiculous, but we've also seen him have some pretty low games, especially with DK Metcalf at 7,400 there. And Stephon Diggs at 7,300, I think, is beyond ridiculous. I mean, even if he doesn't put up a 20-point fantasy point game, which he still hasn't, and he's gotten below 10 points, his ceiling is ridiculous. It's just the Bills are so good and versatile. They don't need Stephon Diggs to do what he did last season, but he should always be in play for cash and GPP. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans with Antonio Brown out, I think, are good plays. I think Tampa Bay's offense is just too good, really, to be shut down by any defense in the league. We've seen what happened when Tampa Bay and New Orleans have played each other. Good games there overall. Apologize, I'm a little tired here. So we go down. Robert Woods at 6,800 is another good play if you can't get to Cooper Kupp. Robert Woods at 6,800. Similar matchup, very good. Emmanuel Sanders, if you don't want to play Stephon Diggs because he just hasn't gotten you in those games, Emmanuel Sanders there at 6,700 is a good play. Michael Pittman, 6,600. Depending on the status of T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman at 6,600 definitely should be a look today. I'm not sold on Jalen Waddle with Devontae Parker returning. So we're going to have to see after this week. I'd feel more safer in cash if he has a very good game again with to his quarterback. T. Higgins is too cheap in my opinion, and Devante Smith is too cheap in my opinion. They're two cash plays. T. Higgins got targeted 15 times last week for 7 targets. He is their go-to. He is their first and second down receiver. He is their guy that they need to get 7 yards on a reception. He's not Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is going to beat you downfield. That's what he does. T. Higgins is their more short field play, and at 6,300, 11-point favorites. I love it. Devante Smith at 6,200 playing a terrible Detroit defense. The only reason I like T. Higgins more is we haven't seen Jalen Hurts be effective through the air with Devante, if that would load. There we go. If we'd see him be effective through the air. So we've seen him get quite a few targets in games, 8, 7, 9, 9, 10. But his yardage isn't there either. He has one receiving touchdown, and that was week 1 against Atlanta, which is, in my opinion, when he looked the best. But they just can't get a connection. But I do think he's a great GPP play. We keep going down. Cole Beasley, if you want a sneaky GPP play, Cole Beasley there at 6,100. Jared Jeudy returns at 6,000 against Washington. That might be a very good play. Brandon Cooks on the other side of the Rams game, getting a sort of revenge game here against the Rams at 6,000. Jacoby Meyer is a very consistent wide receiver, but the Chargers have played very good in the pass game. Very, very consistent as far as receptions there. But no touchdowns. It's pretty hard to get to him. Jamison Crowder, I think Corey Davis being out is worth a GPP play, but it's on the smaller end just because they have Mike White. So not totally sold for me yet. Elijah Moore at 5,200 if you wanted even a more. I'm going balls to the walls. Definitely an option there. I apologize again. Other than that, you go down and there's not a lot of value towards the lower end for cash. Of course, GPP, there's tons of plays for your tournaments, but cash, that's about it. And we'll finish it with tight ends, guys. So Kyle Pitts at 6,800. I think he's not my most favorite, but he definitely is playing phenomenal lately. We're going to have to see how that Atlanta team does against Carolina and Stephon Gilmore today and see how they use Pitts, Gage, and Ridley. But I'm not totally sold on Pitts for a cash play today. Rob Gronkowski, questionable and looking like a game time decision. Mike Gesicki's honestly been playing very good with Tua. You look at his numbers. If his numbers pop up, I guess Fanduel's being slow for me. But Mike Gesicki's been very consistent with Tua in 6,300. I think is a very good play here against Buffalo. TJ Hawkinson, I think, is due for a phenomenal game here against Philly. 6,200. This is a guy that's probably going to get more than 10 targets today. So TJ Hawkinson, 6,200. Dallas Goddard on the other side at 5,900, I think is really good here just because of how bad Detroit's defense is. And with Goddard being the number 1 tight end, that's definitely worth a couple looks. Hunter Henry, I think, is one of my more sneaky plays today. Mid-price for tight ends, 5,500. He's getting his revenge game today against the Chargers. And, I mean, his fantasy point numbers the last 4 weeks, 4 touchdowns. So that's promising. That means Mac Jones is targeting Hunter Henry in the red zone, and that's what you want. They're not targeting Jacoby Myers. They're targeting Hunter Henry. So at 5,500, I think that's a very good sneak play there. And Tyler Higby is probably most of everyone's favorite value play at tight end at 5,300 against Houston. Not because of the numbers that Higby's put up, because he hasn't put up anything as far as FanDuel or DraftKings points, but it's the potential that he has. So he's more of a higher owned tight end that is cheap that you can get. Pat Freiermuth, if Eric Ebron is out, I definitely think that he is in play too, and that's it for tight ends, guys. So hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know what you guys are looking at today for today's plays. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. The link for our Discord will be in the description down below, where we have plays, bets, and so on. So if you guys are interested in that, like I said, the link will be in the description, and we will see you guys in the next one.